Best Conversations Podcast, episode number 7. That beautiful music you hear at the beginning is from my man Sean Finesse, man. One of the most talented producers in the game. Definitely deserves his just due for the work he's been putting in for years. My man, my partner grew up together. Uh, you can hear some of his best work right now in that new Big V project. But what's up, man? Episode 7, Best Conversations Podcast. I am your host, Killa TV. Thanks for everybody that checked out the last episode, the little 6.5 episode. That was a little episode I did in the stash that I recorded on another platform, and I was like, I didn't have my laptop at the time, so I didn't really know what to do with it. But I got my laptop back, so I just put it out. So I just called it 6.5. But this episode is episode number 7, man. And I'm really trying to build this platform up, man. Like for real, for real. Like I'm not playing around. I'm not trying. I'm dropping an episode every week. Guest or no guest, I'm dropping an episode every week. Like that's my. I want this podcast to be where people come to catch that vibe, to hear these stories. If it's a story about my life, it's a story about other people, the other innovators and creators in hip hop. That's what I want this podcast to be, man. So Best Conversations, that's what I want it to be. If you ever wonder what Best Conversation, with the word, why I picked the word BESS as Best Conversations, Best is my middle name. So that's where the best comes from. I just threw it out there because I didn't. People wonder like, what's that? And then even with my photography, I'm switching it to Best Photography, just because I've been running this whole Killa thing for a long time, and I'm just trying to just be more professional when doing business with people out there and not let the Killa run them away. So I am Killa TV. That is me. That won't change. But yeah. So I hope everybody's having a blessed week, man. I'm recording this podcast on a Tuesday. What day of the week this is? Oh man. This is August 27th. I'm recording this podcast in my man cave. Shout out to everybody that have played that 2K20 demo already. Very waste of my time. I don't give a damn. I don't need to make 5 players to find out which player I win. I want the storyline, damn it! And so they didn't give me that. So I've still been playing Madden. A question for the people. At what point do you stop? At what age do you stop playing video games? Because me, personally, I do not see the finish line nowhere near. I don't see the finish line nowhere. So that's just my question. Like, what age do you stop playing video games? Because I'm still dedicating like 2 hours a day to video games. Most days, maybe like a few days out the week. My wife probably don't want to hear that, but it is what it is, man. But yeah, so this is episode 7. No guest again, but I do got some. So I got some good guests in the tuck ready. I just with the guests, man. I just like to do them face to face with the. When it's just me recording, I can, pop the laptop in, get my snowball mic, and just do what I do. But I got some good guests coming up. I got my man EB, EB Films. He does photography. I've known EB for a minute. He just filmed that new video for Wax and T Shep. T Shep, I'm trying to get her on the podcast as well. T Shep is definitely a major voice in the community, and especially in Greensboro. Been putting in work a long time. So I got EB confirmed. Just trying to figure out what time and day we're gonna get that done. I would like to do that podcast. Shout out to Press Play Studios. I like to knock that out down there and press play. So I got that in the tuck. I got T Shep in the tuck. She says she's ready to go. My man Coop, because I feel like I don't show enough. I don't show enough love to my home team, my original home team, where I'm originally from, which is Laurinburg, Wagham, North Carolina, and my boy Coop, man. I'm gonna get him on the podcast because he had this. So I'm gonna talk to him and let him talk about his story because man, they really had a really strong buzz in the city. Um, very close to getting signed at one time. So I have to talk to them. I have to talk to him, and it was a whole group they was running with. But I like to get them on the podcast as well. But today, episode 7, man, we're gonna talk about that. My favorite era in hip hop. So most people is thinks the '90s era is the best era of hip hop. I tend to agree for the most part, but me, my personal, not yours, my personal favorite my favorite personal era of hip hop. My personal favorite era of hip hop. Excuse me, I mixed up my words. Is the crunk era, man. Man, the crunk era was my god. Like a crazy time of my life. Young. I ain't gonna say didn't give a F, but slightly didn't. You know what I mean? The times I would be in the floor just pushing and mashing and just wilding. You know what I mean? It was just crazy. So it was a wild time. It was so wild. But that was my time. So today we're definitely gonna talk about my favorite era of hip hop, which is the crunk era of hip hop, and where it started, where it originated from, who is the creators of crunk music. I know the answer to that. It's 3 6 Mafia. First crunk song I've ever heard was "Tear the Club Up." Who run it? Weak ass bitch. You know what I mean? To me, that's the creators of the crunk era, 3 6 Mafia. It was Lil Jon who coined the phrase crunk that definitely made it, you know, more, on the main screen. Then Dave Chappelle does the skit, and then it really goes off the top, and then Lil Jon with the, all the catchphrases in it. So it just went crazy. Then he brings in cats like Lil Scrappy and Trillville and Crime. And Crime Mob comes behind that. It was just a crazy era in music for me, and I was young and I lived it. You know, Another era that I love, but I can only watch it from afar was the New Jack Swing era, and I just wish like I was like a part of that era as well. So I kind of watched it from afar. But the crunk era, I actually seen it, lived it, went to the club in it, dressed in the ridiculous oversized t-shirts and really lived that era. And, I'm glad to say I was able to live in that era because, it was pretty darn cool. So, yes, so that's what we will be talking about today is the crunk era. My favorite era of hip hop, where it started, my favorite moments of that era. So, man, fasten your seatbelt. Let's get into it. Another episode of Best Conversations Podcast, hosted by your boy, me, Killa TV. Go back and listen to all the episodes. We only getting started, man. Like I said, I want this podcast to really be somewhere where you can catch that vibe and go down memory lane, and you pop this in where whatever it is you're doing, part of your day. Like, I want to be part of your week every week. Like, the same way most of these podcasts is part of your week every week, I want to be part of your week every week on a certain day. So I'm trying to figure out what day it is I'm going to drop every week, but I promise you I will come to you every week, guest or no guest. Best Conversations Podcast, episode 7, my favorite era, crunk era. Let's go. Man, have you ever just wanted to just mush a nigga in his face, like just, you know what I mean, just get disrespectful and just do a nigga dirty, you know what I mean? That's what that crunk era used to do, you know what I mean? I didn't participate in none of that craziness, but I would jump in the middle of the crowd and enjoy myself and and act wild, and it was almost like black kids mosh pitting or something like that. That's how it felt like to me. And it was me and my friends at the time. It was just such a crazy time in my life. Like I was just enjoying life on just another level. Like, man, I never enjoyed life so much. And I mean, maybe because of my age, because I had no responsibilities and things of that nature. So it just seemed like life was just so amazing. And to me, the music was just so energetic and the music was just so great. You know what I mean? The music was just so amazing to me. So that's why I love the crunk era. I don't know. That's just my favorite era of music, man. It's just always gonna be my favorite era of music. And me and my friends just lived it, man, and it was so fun. But let's get into the history of the crunk era, man. Like I said earlier, like Three Six Mafia, Tear the Club Up, definitely was like the first version of crunk music. But I don't think they ever coined the phrase. Excuse me. So like them was the first people really, like if you turn on, like if you watch Tear the Club Up, like that was the first time like you would see like people just going nuts and going crazy. And in a lot of places, a lot of clubs, a lot of spots, banned that song because once that song came on, it was out of here. Like the club was over pretty much. Like if you wanted to end the club for the night, just cut that on and that was it. Like if you wanted to, if you wanted that to be your night, and it just caused such a ruckus. You know what I mean? So to me, in my opinion, I think most people know that the crunk era, the originators of crunk music is 3 6 Mafia. But like I said, then it came to Atlanta and it just went to a whole nother level. Like a whole nother level of just, craziness. Lil Jon kind of gets the majority of the credit for because he coined the phrase crunk. And he gets a lot of the credit, and rightfully so, because he did it to a whole nother level. And man, I just remember, quick story, man. So, me and my partners, we go to a spot. We was all in high school at the time. We go to a spot, and they used to have parties at this place called Armory, I think it was called. So they would have, so basically it would just be a big ass basketball court, and they would have parties there, and so it's high school era, so it's definitely rival beefs and there rival gangs. But this part of town, we wasn't really from this side of town. It was called Holt County, and they was already gang banging, like you know what I mean, like gang banging, like for real, like from where we from, people didn't gang bang in the early days. I can remember people gang banging. They would just, whatever hood you repped your hood or whatever. But at this point in Hope County, cats was gang banging, repping flags, throwing flags, and the whole nine. And this particular night, we in the party, enjoying ourselves, having a great time, and so they play Lil Jon. It's the one with Pastor Troy. I'll drop the song after at the end of this segment. Throw it up, motherfucker, throw it up. Yeah, throw it up, Lil Jon. So I'm looking like, oh, this shit's about to be bad. This shit's about to be really bad. So I'm just like watching this shit from afar. And I'm like, oh shit. So I'm watching everybody in the middle of the damn gymnasium throwing it up, like, you know what I mean? Throw it up, motherfucker, throw it up. I'm like, oh shit, like this shit's about to be crazy. If niggas had video phones and could record this shit would have been epic. So I'm just sitting there watching this shit, because I know this shit about to go bad any second. So some dude has the bright idea that he's gonna, so I'm guessing guy was a Crip. So he I don't know. I don't know if he was, I'm guessing if he was a Crip and he was burning the red flag trying to be disrespectful, or he was a blood, meaning there's something different into burning the red flag. I don't know what it was, but I just seen the guy holds up the red flag and start burning it, and then my God, that's when all hell broke loose. I've never seen so many niggas getting molly-whopped and punched, and oh my God, it was so terrible. And for this one guy, man, the dude looked like we was at the basketball. It was a gym where they was having a party at. So this one dude looked like he caught a charge. Like he got hit so hard. How you know how nigga like, catch a charge, like, if you charge a nigga offensive foul and he slide on the floor, like this nigga got hit so hard, like he slid. Like he slid on the floor. Like I was like, oh my God. And then at that point I was looking at my partners. I was like, yo, we got to get the fuck out of here. It was mayhem. And that's what I know it was such a dangerous time. And I was so young, I didn't give a crap. You know what I mean? It was just crazy. It was things like that. If you in the wrong spot, that the crunk era, these were the things that would happen, but I loved it. And it definitely wouldn't stop me from going back the next week. Like, you know what I mean? So it was things like that that would often happen in the crunk era. And I loved it. You know what I mean? I would go back and enjoy myself, and that's what it was. And, it was just, my favorite era of music, the crunk era, just young and don't give a crap. So let's get it, man. Best Conversations Podcast, man. I'm your host, Killa TV. We back. Killa TV, man. Hey, man, in the comments, please leave me some of your favorite crunk songs of the era, of the crunk era. Is Crunk dead? You know what I mean? Or these kids still doing crunk, but just in a different era, man. Leave it all in the comments, man. And if you got Apple Music, man, go stream my playlist. Let's Get Crunk. Just look for Kayvon McKinnon on an Apple Music playlist, and you can find that playlist. I'm about to update it too, because I'm looking at it, I'm like, man, I need to update this and really take you through the whole crunk era. I'm a sequence the playlist, if I feel like how the crunk era went down. And so yeah, so if you're on Apple Music, follow me on Apple Music, man. I got a lot of dope playlists on there, man, and they get a lot of random people add my playlist. I don't know how these people find me, but they add my playlist. One of the most requested playlists that gets like downloaded all the time, and I don't even know what it is about this playlist that people love. It's Back That Ass Up. It's just a bunch of booty shaking songs that I put together, which I had no thought of. A lot of people's gonna download that playlist, but people love it. So follow me on Apple Music. Get those playlists. And follow Best Conversations Podcast, on Instagram and Twitter, man. Just type it in, but it's BESS, Bess, my middle name, Bess. Yeah, follow that on social media and all that stuff. So, yeah, so we talking about my favorite era of music, the crunk era. Man, I love the crunk era. And through that whole journey, man, it was just me and my boys, man, Londell and my partner Derek, like we lived it, like we was just right there, and my boy Mike as well, and a couple of other more people, but them like the main people. I just remember just being right there with me through that whole everything in that crunk era, and just just being in the middle of the floor, just not giving a crap, man. I think probably the biggest song of the crunk era would have to be Knuck If You Buck. Like, and that was almost towards like the end of the crunk era, almost a little bit. But Knuck If You Buck, man, I think Knuck If You Buck will be one of those songs that will last, like the same way the Frankie and Beverly Mays song lasts forever. Like you can play it every cookout. Like Knuck of You Buck, man, is gonna last forever and ever and ever and ever. Like last night, I was talking to my daughter. She was just telling me how much she loved Missy Elliott because last night the VMAs was on, and how much my daughter's so smart, and she said to me, she said, Dad, she said a lot of girls probably wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Missy Elliott. That's what I hear. I said, well, you're smart because you're right. Missy Elliott is definitely a whole legend, and a lot of people wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Missy Elliott. And it's a lot of people in that era of that crunk era that people probably forgot about, or just failed to recognize that wouldn't be here. We making the music they making if it wasn't for the crunk era, like a Waka Flocka or MGK or somebody like that. That's that still kind of makes high intense music, and that doesn't really get the dues. Another one of the huge songs of the era. I wish I could play some of this music, but I'm putting my music on a lot of platforms now with this podcast. You could actually find it in more places. I think it's in the Google Play Store now. We still trying to work and get it on Apple Music. You know how Apple Music is, so I can't really be dropping music like I want to, because they will definitely take this shit down. But because I don't own none of those songs. But another big one, like I said, was "Throw It Up," which we was talking about earlier. The shit that happened with the fight I was telling you about, and one of the weird things about the crunk era was how Path of Troy was on this humongous song, "Throw It Up," and they didn't shoot it, and it's like a cult classic, but they didn't shoot a video for it. It wasn't a single. And I thought that was going to be the moment with Path of Troy, because I'm a huge Path of Troy fan. I really thought that was going to be the moment where Path of Troy career just goes like to a whole nother level. You know what I mean? It kind of felt like Lil Jon got bigger, but Path of Troy didn't really get as big as he was probably supposed to be, in my personal opinion. But I love Path of Troy, and I still support Pastor, but so that was kind of, weird for me. And I just always want Pastor Troy, man, to get to just dues, because to me, he was like the very first solo. Outkast was probably the first artist that put Atlanta on the map, but on a solo tip, Pastor Troy to me was the first artist on a solo tip that really put Atlanta like really, really on the map. And you can tell how he was talking this shit a couple months back, like everybody from Atlanta that was first project I was on. If it was a T.I. or was it a Jeezy or was it Ludacris, he was on everybody's first project, which is all big facts. Another huge song in that era came from this huge guy, literally Bone Crusher, Never Scared. And it reintroduced us to an artist named T.I. We don't really associate T.I. with the crunk era, but he was definitely part of one of the most humongous songs of that era, which is Never Scared. And it definitely put a great light back on him, because before that, he dropped his first album, which, most people nowadays would say is a classic, but at the time it didn't commercially do well. And so it definitely put T.I. back on the spotlight, because a lot of people at that point kind of forgot about him. I know I did. I wasn't even thinking about him at the time. But so, and then they introduced you to this guy named Bone Crusher, which was like, like who is this guy? Like first time you hear Never Scared, it's like nigga, like you play that shit before a football game or whatever, like, you know what I mean? That shit really get niggas going, like let niggas know, like, nigga, I ain't never scared, like, nigga, ain't nothing we can't do. So, Never Scared was like, one of the most humongous songs of that, early stages of crunk music, and which was just super crazy at the time. Super, 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 super wild, like. And it had and even had the probably was crazy at the time. The most notable MC that people kinda knew a little more about at the time was Killer Mike, who absolutely smoked that bitch as well. And so definitely Never Scared was like one of my favorite crunk songs of the era. So as we moving through this era, which I would probably say the crunk era, if I had to put years on it, I would have to probably say where it was like officially like super crunk era, where I'm talking like Little John and Ying Yang Twins and everybody, like the whole South are just on this crazy run. I would probably say like, oh well, in the South is still, holding things down in hip hop, but I would have to say, if I had to put a timeline on the crunk era, I would probably say '02 to '06. '02 to '06. That's, in my opinion, '02 to '06 would be the crunk era. Lil Jon did drop albums before 2002, a couple of them, but that's what I would say was like really the crunk era to me. And that was like prime time of my life. Like, it was prime time. I was '02, I was 17. You know what I mean? I was like 17 and just everything. And some of my favorite albums in the crunk era, it would have to be the Lil Jon albums, Crunk Juice and Kings of Crunk. My God, Kings of Crunk, man, we played the shit out of Kings of Crunk. That was it for me. Kings of Crunk, man. I mean, if y'all disagree, man, maybe y'all don't feel the way I feel about the crunk era, but it was just a super fun time for me, and just super energetic, just going nuts. I'm talking like leaving out the club like with your white tee, straight, super sweaty. Like, that's the, what I mean. The smaller the club was, like, the more the fun it was. Like, you know what I mean? Because that's back then we would have fun, like, for real. Like, have fun. Nobody was just sitting around some VIP section, just taking pictures or whatever. We would be in that. We would be in that bitch, like, really, like, having fun, like, and so Kings of Crunk was definitely a crazy soundtrack. So as we move through this crunk era and let everything that was going on at the time, man, it was just a fun time in my life. I keep saying that because life now is just so real. It's just kids, bills, marriage. Like, it's just so real. Still a beautiful time, but it's just when you live in carefree. It's just things are just different. And I think a lot of people can contest to that. So, you live in carefree and no bills, no responsibilities. At the time, it was just like, finding a way to get through high school. And then, after that, it was just like, navigating a little bit through life. Even through the crunk era, like, even, Lil Jon got so huge, man. And the moment where the crunk era just went mainstream was the Dave Chappelle thing, man, where everybody was screaming out, "What? Yeah, okay." It was like, man, like this crunk era thing done crossed all the way over, where Lil Jon is like literally like a household name, not just like somebody in hip hop, but he's like, white America, talking about Little John, which was, it was cool, but it was kind of crazy at the same time, because like sometimes when things cross over, it kind of loses a little bit of the foundation and a little bit of the, the things that we loved about it. But even R&B, like songs like Nivea had like the crunk shit, and like people who tried to call Sierra the crunk and princess or something like that. And one of Usher hugest songs was "Yeah," with Little John and Ludacris, and so the crunk era definitely it definitely crossed over, and R&B got into it with it too. So and then one of the hugest songs, Summer '03, where it was probably at the peak. To me, the two peaks was "Damn" by the Young Bloods, and also a little Scrappy. Which one song sounded just such a like the little Scrappy dude, Head Buster. Yeah, I think Little Scrappy did Head Buster, and Trillville did Never Ever. Yeah, so those was like the peaks. Like Never Ever and Head Buster was absolutely the peaks of the crunk era. Then Damn took it to a whole nother level. That whole summer was just crazy. Summer '03, that's a whole nother podcast. Summer '03, and then as Little John's popularity became bigger, somehow it just kind of faded. The crunk era kind of faded away a little bit. Lil Jon became a household name. People waited on that Crunk Ain't Dead album for a long time. I think it eventually dropped, but look, but people was waiting on the next Lil Jon album to come, but it never really came on a mainstream era. Little Scrappy thing started dying down. Crime Mob did his best to keep it alive, but eventually music turned to where it got back to where it's more lyrical, and folks like T.I. in the South became more prevalent, and so the crunk era kind of died down a little bit, because people always look at the faces of it, because if Lil Jon ain't doing it, and Lil Scrappy and Trillville and Crime Mob, you say, oh, Crunk is dead, or it's like that. But it just took different it just went into different directions. Like Waka Flocka did a great job of I don't think he was screaming out crunk like this is crunk music, but he did a great job of still keeping a lot of energy in it. And I think crunk music never died. It just the people that was the faces of it, fell back. Because music definitely always goes through lots of different phases and turns and whatever. But music now is still a lot of energy in it, and yeah. So the crunk era kind of went away, and whatever. But it's like I said, it's not dead. It just music just goes through phases, and still a lot of energy in music. I would just say crunk music is just the origin of crunk music is just it's always going to be Little John, 3 6 Mafia, Pastor Troy, people like that. But crunk music is just high energy music. That's really what it is, and it comes out of the South. And I remember in another weird thing about the crunk era. The crunk era got so huge, and rap was in a very weird time where people wasn't selling the records they used to be selling, where even these quote unquote not even quote unquote these New York legends was coming to Lil Jon to get beats. Like I remember Mobb Deep had this Little John song, which was pretty alright, but it was cool. It was like, but then the Bravehearts did it. You know what I mean? Quick to Back Down, Bravehearts and Lil Jon, which was dope as hell. I didn't see no problem with it. And then Jadakiss, everybody loved Jadakiss, would jump on them down south beats and smoke them shits. You know what I mean? And so even the New York cats was getting in on the crunk era, and so yeah, man. So yeah, this was just going down memory lane, man. I used to have some of the wildest, craziest times in the clubs, and just just enjoying myself to the max, not giving a care about anything except, you know, just enjoying myself with my partners and having a good time. I never actually got in a fight through all the crunk shit and all the craziness. I never got in a fight in the club. You know, and I don't think none of any of my partners ever got in a fight in the club. I don't know how, 'cause we was definitely used to be in the middle of the dance floor, you know, acting a fool here and there, but we never got no fights, man. It was probably like one or two times where cats are kind of looking to kind of like, yo, did you push me? But you know what I mean? Like, dog, we all in here, man. We all in here enjoying ourselves, man. Having a good time. But yeah. So this brings this shit to a conclusion, man. Yeah. So hopefully, I see y'all again, same time, same place next week. Best Conversations podcast is episode 7, man. I thank everybody for listening. I think everybody's going to like this era because, you know, crunk era, man, especially people around my age, you know, I'm 34. People around my age from probably like 32 to 36, you know, would definitely love and appreciate this conversation, this podcast. Salute to everybody, man. Salute to my partners, my home team. What up, Red? What up, Nix? What up, Rello? What up, Smith? What up, Cool? That's basically everybody in my group chat. But Finesse, salute to all them, man. Salute to everybody that listen, man. Go tell somebody about this podcast. Best Conversation. Like I said, man, I'm trying to be with you every week. Same time, same place. Let's say Wednesday. I know my life is... I have a hard time sticking to everything. If it's diets or whatever, I have a hard time sticking to it. But I'm going to try to stick to Wednesday. And, you know, I'm supposed to be on this no meat fast this month. But, man, I couldn't do it, man. I couldn't do it. But, anyway, Best Conversations Podcast, episode 7. Thank y'all for listening. Go, like I said, man, go to if you got Apple Music, go to Apple Music and just type in Kayvon McKinnon, or you can you can go on the playlist and type in Let's Get Crunk. You can find my playlist over there and find most of these songs that we talked about and enjoy it. And you can go back and live the crunk era like I did. See y'all next time, man. Peace, blessings, and love to everybody, man. I hope y'all have a blessed week. Much love, much respect to everybody that listen. God is the greatest. Peace and love. Best Conversations Podcast. Peace. We out.